The message arrived while I was finalizing adoption papers at my lawyer's office. Emma, we decided to redirect your trust fund to Amanda. She has 3 kids and needs it more than you. The transfer will be complete by Friday. My mother's text was followed quickly by my father's. It's for the best. You understand. I stared at my phone, a calm smile playing on my lips. Everything okay, Ms. Carter? My lawyer, Michael, asked. I showed him the messages. His eyes widened slightly before he caught my expression. You don't seem surprised, he observed. I'm not, I replied, turning back to the adoption paperwork for little Stuffy. I made the necessary arrangements 3 months ago. My name is Emma Carter, and at 32, I'd spent my entire life being the responsible daughter. While my younger sister Amanda married young, had 3 kids, and lived off our parents' generosity, I built a career in child advocacy and saved every penny I could. The trust fund, set up by our grandmother before she passed, was meant to be split equally between Amanda and me when we turned 35. But I knew my parents. I'd watched them favor Amanda since we were children. Every scraped knee, every failed test, every financial mistake was met with endless comfort and support. Meanwhile, my achievements, graduating top of my class, establishing a successful career, buying my own home, were met with dismissive nods and quick changes of subject. 3 months ago, during a family dinner, I overheard them discussing Amanda's latest financial crisis. Her husband Tom had lost money in another risky investment, and they were struggling to maintain their lavish lifestyle. Emma's trust fund could help them, my mother had whispered to my father. She doesn't even have a family to support. They didn't know about Sophie then. They didn't know I'd been working with the adoption agency for over a year, preparing to give a home to a beautiful 5-year-old girl who'd lost her parents in a car accident. They didn't know because they never asked about my life, too busy solving Amanda's latest crisis. The next day, I visited my grandmother's old lawyer, Michael, who'd become a trusted friend over the years. Is there any way to protect the trust fund? I'd asked. He'd smiled, pulling out documents my grandmother had left. Your grandmother was a smart woman, Emma. She added a clause that if anyone attempted to alter the distribution of the trust without both beneficiaries' consent, the entire amount would be immediately released to the originally named recipients. That afternoon, I transferred my portion, roughly $2.5 million, into a secure account. Not for myself, but for Sophie's future and for the Children's Advocacy Center I'd been quietly developing. Now, sitting in Michael's office, I typed a simple reply to my parents' message. Thanks for letting me know. My phone immediately buzzed with calls from both of them, probably expecting tears or arguments. I declined them all, focusing instead on the final details of Sophie's adoption. Tomorrow I would bring her home, to a house filled with love and the security my grandmother had wanted for her great-grandchildren. All of them, not just Amanda's kids. Should I inform them about the clause? Michael asked, organizing the completed adoption papers. Not yet, I replied. Let them figure it out when they try to transfer the funds. Besides, I smiled, looking at Sophie's photo on my desk. I have more important things to focus on right now. As I left his office, my phone kept buzzing with messages from my family. Amanda was now involved, sending long texts about how she deserved the money more because she had real children to support. My parents alternated between guilt trips and demands that I answer their calls. I drove home in peaceful silence, thinking about the room I prepared for Sophie, painted in her favorite colors, filled with books and toys. Tomorrow, she would finally have a forever home, and I would have the daughter I'd always dreamed of. My parents' attempt to control my life through money had come too late. I'd already built something far more valuable than any trust fund. Let them think they'd won. Let them believe I was the passive, compliant daughter they'd always taken for granted. In less than 24 hours, they would learn that sometimes the quiet ones are the ones you should watch out for. The morning I was scheduled to pick up Sophie, my parents showed up at my door unannounced. My mother's perfectly styled hair and my father's pressed golf shirt couldn't hide their agitation. Emma, we need to discuss this situation, my mother started, trying to push past me into the house. I blocked the doorway, noticing their eyes widen at the colorful backpack and small pink suitcase visible in my entryway. Are you going somewhere? My father asked, confusion evident in his voice. Yes, actually. I have an important appointment this morning. I checked my watch pointedly, which I need to leave for in 20 minutes. More important than family? My mother's voice took on that familiar guilt-inducing tone. Emma, your sister is desperate. The kid's private school tuition is due, and Tom's business venture didn't pan out. Again, I added quietly. What's that supposed to mean? My father demanded. Nothing. But as I said, I have an appointment. We can talk later. I reached for my keys, but my mother grabbed my arm. There's something you're not telling us. Those bags, they look like children's luggage. Her eyes narrowed. What are you planning? Just then, my phone rang. Michael's office. I need to take this, I said, gently removing my mother's hand. It's my lawyer. Lawyer? My father's face reddened. Why are you talking to lawyers? I answered the call, putting it on speaker deliberately. Hi, Michael. Am I still good to pick up Sophie at 10? Yes, everything's set. The adoption papers are all finalized. She's very excited to meet her new mom. The silence that followed was deafening. My parents stood frozen, their faces cycling through shock, confusion, and something that looked almost like fear. Adoption? My mother whispered. You're adopting. Without consulting us. I'm 32, Mom. I don't need your consultation or permission. I picked up Sophie's backpack. Now, if you'll excuse me, my daughter is waiting. Daughter. My father's voice cracked. But what about the trust fund? We've already promised Amanda. That's not really my concern, I replied, locking my door. You made your decision about the money. I've made my decision about my family. You can't afford a child without that trust fund. My mother blurted out. You need to stop this nonsense right now. I turned to face them, finally letting some of my suppressed feelings show. You know what's interesting? In all these years, you never once asked about my savings, my investments, my plans. You assumed I had nothing because I didn't flaunt everything like Amanda does. You thought that trust fund was my only resource, didn't you? They exchanged uncertain glances. My father cleared his throat. Well, on your salary. My salary as a senior child advocate, plus my investments, plus the money Grandma left me directly in her will, separate from the trust fund, have left me quite comfortable. I smiled at their shocked expressions. Oh, you didn't know about that part of the will? Maybe because you were too busy helping Amanda spend her portion within the first year. But, my mother stammered. But Amanda needs. Amanda wants, I corrected. There's a difference. Now, I really need to go. Sophie's waiting. As I drove away, I watched them in my rearview mirror, standing dumbfounded in my driveway. My phone started buzzing again. Amanda this time. I switched it to silent, focusing instead on the journey ahead. The adoption center was bright and welcoming, and Sophie was waiting in the play area, clutching her favorite stuffed elephant. The moment she saw me, her face lit up with a smile that made everything, every dismissal, every family drama, every carefully planned step, worth it. Ready to go home, sweetheart? I asked, kneeling down to her level. She nodded enthusiastically, then hesitated. Will they like me? She asked quietly. Who, sweetie? Your family. Will they like me? I hugged her gently. You and I are family now, Sophie. We're going to build our own kind of family, filled with love and trust and support. And yes, they'll love you, once they get to know you. But for now, it's just us, and that's perfect. As we drove home, Sophie chattering excitedly about her new room, I received a text from Michael. Your parents just tried to access the trust fund. The clause has been triggered. Should I proceed as planned? I smiled, watching Sophie in the rearview mirror as she hugged her elephant and gazed wonderingly at her new neighborhood. Yes, I typed back. It's time they learned about Grandma's real legacy. The next morning, chaos erupted. My father's angry voice filled my voicemail. What do you mean the money's gone? Emma, what have you done? My mother's messages alternated between threats and tearful pleas. Amanda's texts became increasingly hysterical. You've ruined everything. How could you be so selfish? I sat at my kitchen counter, watching Sophie eat her breakfast, chocolate chip pancakes, her favorite. She looked up, catching my expression. Are you sad? She asked, maple syrup dripping from her fork. No, sweetheart, I smiled, wiping her chin, just thinking about how perfect this morning is. The doorbell rang, followed by insistent knocking. Through the window, I could see my parents' car in the driveway. Amanda's minivan pulled up behind it. Sophie, remember how we practiced for loud situations? She nodded, pulling her noise-canceling headphones from her backpack. Good girl. Let's go upstairs and read while I handle this. After settling Sophie in her reading nook, I opened the front door to face my family's fury. Amanda pushed past me, her face red with anger. How dare you steal my children's future? Interesting choice of words, I replied calmly, considering you were planning to steal my share of the trust. That was different, my mother interjected. We were trying to help. Help who, Mom? Amanda's kids or Amanda's lifestyle? I gestured to her designer purse, her fresh salon highlights. When was the last time you asked about my plans, my dreams? You never needed help, my father argued. You were always stable. Stable, I repeated. You mean boring. Reliable, the perfect backdrop for Amanda's drama. Well, guess what? Grandma saw this coming. She knew exactly who you all were. I pulled out an envelope, the letter my grandmother had left with Michael. Would you like to know what she really thought about your parenting style? My mother sank onto the couch, her facade cracking. What are you talking about? Grandma knew you'd favor Amanda. She watched you do it for years. That's why she added the clause about immediate distribution if anyone tried to change the terms. She wanted to protect me from exactly this situation. But where's the money now? Amanda demanded. You have to give it back. A small voice came from the stairs. Mama, my book fell. Sophie stood there, headphones around her neck, clutching her elephant. The room fell silent. My mother stared at Sophie, then at me. Mama, she whispered. Yes, I said, moving to pick up Sophie's book. Everyone meet Sophie, my daughter. You spent the trust fund on her? Amanda sputtered. No, I smiled. I invested my portion in something much bigger. The Carter Children's Advocacy Center opens next month. A place where kids like Sophie can find support, legal help, and a chance at a better future. The trust fund wasn't just money. It was an opportunity to continue Grandma's legacy of protecting those who need it most. My father slumped in his chair. All this time, I was building something meaningful. I finished. While you were all focused on maintaining appearances, I was creating a real future, not just for Sophie, but for hundreds of children who need help. But what about my kids? Amanda cried. Their tuition. Maybe it's time they went to public school, I suggested gently. Like I did. Maybe it's time they learned the value of earning things, not just receiving them. Sophie tugged at my sleeve. Can we finish our pancakes now? Of course, sweetheart. I turned to my family. You're welcome to be part of our lives, part of something bigger than designer bags and country club memberships. But it has to be on different terms. No more favoritism, no more manipulation, no more taking me for granted. My mother looked at Sophie, then at me, seeing us, really seeing us, perhaps for the first time. She has your eyes, he said softly, the same determination. She has Grandma's spirit, I corrected. And like Grandma, I won't let anyone take advantage of those I love. As my family filed out, subdued and thoughtful, I returned to the kitchen with Sophie. Are they mad? She asked, picking up her fork. They're learning, I replied, pouring more syrup on her pancakes. Sometimes people need to lose something to understand its value. That evening, as Sophie slept surrounded by her books and toys, I received one final text from my mother. Your grandmother would be proud. Maybe we could visit the advocacy center when it opens. I smiled, typing back, Sophie would like that. She loves story time if you're interested in reading to the children there. Sometimes the best revenge isn't about getting even. It's about building something better from the ashes of others' mistakes. Sophie and I had created our own kind of family, and maybe, just maybe, we could help my parents and Amanda build something better too. But this time, it would be on our terms.